Yeah. Well, before we get into the crash out, let's take a look at actually this moment from the debate itself, because some people were asking, what were they even debating? Unfortunately, because it's behind the paywall, we have to react through these morons channel who honestly take the Candace Owens shtick to the next level as far as being like the black guys who just agree with white supremacist talking points. Yeah, these dudes are huge. And most of their videos are basically being like, yeah, low key, Nick Fuentes is kind of right about black people, specifically black people that are darker than us. They're savages. That's literally something they say in this video. And yeah, this shit is getting a ton of views. So I hate to subject everyone to it, but let's just take a look at the kind of discourse that was even happening in the first place, the kind of debate that was going on, the kind of subject matters that are being entertained by these fucking crazy Nazis. And again, this is why I don't even think it's a good idea to debate Nick Fuentes. You can't stoop to this level. You can't try to engage here. But it is pretty funny that, as you said accurately, Zach, Candace Owens has spent the last, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, basically spreading racist talking points. At least, yeah. And a straight up white supremacist, KKK talking point, specifically with the Derek Chauvin stuff, I just thought was beyond the pale, insane pandering to white people, pro-cop, disgusting, nauseating shit. But now she wants to come in here and almost kind of like woke scold Nick Fuentes for taking it even further, right? So she's made a whole career out of being racist, but now she's going to be like, what? You're actually racist? You actually think that black people aren't as smart as white people? What? And it's like, what the fuck did you think you were getting involved with here? Like what fucking movement did you think you were a part of to act so shocked? But let's take a look.
So I'm trying to understand if you think that it's all black people are like this, or if your world is kind of colored by this is what's going on in America. This has failed for 1,000 reasons. Welfarism has definitely, black people in 1940s, stand up. My grandfather, I talk about that denigration and the corrosion of culture. Yeah. That's happening. White, black, whatever you want to name it, there is this intentional corrosion of culture. So do you think it's literally, well, this is just what a black person is when they come out? Or do you think that post welfare, LBJ, Great Society, this is what black Americans have become? And I have a right to respond to that and say that as a white man,
Imagine doing this. Evoking your black grandfather and talking about how he was a stand-up guy unlike every black person in 20. What the hell is the matter with you? This is why I cannot feel sorry for Candace Owens when she is victimized by a piece of shit like Nick Fuentes. Like, I can understand and recognize it's immoral, but as far as my heart goes, hard to shed a tear for you, lady. What the fuck do you think you're doing when you're like, no, he hates you because he hates black people. He hates the skin color you have, and he has extrapolated a million fucking made up narratives about it, okay, to serve him, a fucking prepubescent boy that could be picked up and shoved in a trash can by just about anybody.
Yup.
I don't want to live there.
Well, I think it's more nature than people would like to believe. There's this classic tension of, is it nature, is it nurture, is it cultural, or is it intrinsic, is it racial? And I've always been on the latter side of this among conservatives. Conservatives like to say it's all culture. Black America is the way it is because of hip hop music and the Great Society and that kind of stuff. And I think the uncomfortable reality is, a big part of it is intrinsic. One of the big arguments against the abolition of slavery in the 1860s is that, when Europeans colonized Africa, they hadn't discovered the wheel. There's no two-story buildings.
Yeah. And then these guys are about to go on to talk about how he's right about that, and that, black men that are darker skinned than they are basically are literal savages. That's a quote from this fucking video, which I watched in absolute horror yesterday, Zach, because this is the level of Nazi discourse that we're up against. And yeah, this is what, how do you, if you're Candace Owens, who, like I said, has spent a whole fucking career laundering racist talking points and, promoting them and enriching yourself based on them, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with this person who's increasingly popular in your movement, who's overtaking you in popularity because they're willing to be even more racist, including to people of your skin color?
Whoa. And it's crazy too, because we get all these idiot pieces of shit that'll be in our comment section, be like, Nick is a Nazi, he's my friend, I like Nick Fuentes, he's not racist, you're racist, you guys probably, you little girls, like, it's like, bro, that guy, he told you exactly what he thinks. That guy was completely honest. And not only that, he's a fucking idiot. He said there were no 2-story buildings in Africa when white people got there. You fucking dipshit. You ever heard of fucking pyramids? Hello? You ever heard of one of the
he doesn't count Egypt. Candace brings that up, and he doesn't count Egypt because he said it's a different race. And that like the Middle Eastern people colonized Egypt or whatever, which is why the Egyptians that wrote and made hieroglyphs in the pyramids, like they weren't black. So it's just weird shit. And again, it's like, where are you going to get debating that?
That's crazy. That's crazy. What are you talking about? You just lied. You got caught in a lie, and you just doubled down. You were like, no, bro, that was white people too. Trust me, bro. Trust me. Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
That's so fucking nuts. Yeah, and this is what that is true. Like, weasels like this, it's tough because you want to just destroy them, right? You just want to pulverize them. You want to crush them like a cockroach. You know what I mean? That's what you want to do. That's what you feel like you should do, right? But how do you kill a cockroach, right? That's the problem with those sons of bitches. You have to come in like an exterminator and spray and spray and spray. So I guess that's going to be what the Vanguard does. We're coming out here and we're spraying you fucking cockroaches.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at Candace crashing out on Twitter over this. And again, it's hard to feel bad for Candace Owens given the movement that she's been part of and led and all the racist shit that she's said. But, she's really upset about this. She said, and because Nick keeps making, more content about her and Tucker Carlson. She says, I'm honestly in awe at how much Nick Fuentes has publicly lied about me since he left my house. But rather than cry about it, as he most definitely would, I have instead invited him back for an actual debate where he can bring his alleged receipts to avoid his inevitable victim act. I've asked Dan Bilzerian to moderate the discussion, who, by the way, is also an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier, to moderate the discussion so Nick can put on his favored "I was attacked because I'm just so real and they are going to kill me" skit. Too many theater boys in politics. So she thinks that, it didn't work when Tucker Carlson called him a gay kid in his mom's basement. Obviously, we covered how Nick Fuentes was able to kind of spin that in his own favor and come out on top of that exchange too. Apparently, Candace Owens just thinks that, maybe it'll work if I do it. Maybe if I call him a theater kid or whatever, his fans will turn on him. Obviously, that's not going to happen, as was revealed by the response to this post. I'm going to show you the ratio in a second, but she says this will be fun because I think it will reveal to the public we should not fear discussion if we're telling the truth. Looking forward to this, Nick Fuentes. So imagine experiencing that, what we just watched, that just humiliation, and then all this racist dogpiling from his fans and even some of yours that are turning on you. Imagine experiencing all of that, and then a week or two later say, actually, let's do it again. Let's do it at round 2. Let's fucking go. Maybe I can just keep digging and digging and digging, and eventually I'll come out on top. No, that's not going to work. The only thing that Candace Owens should do in relation to this is just completely move on, totally ignore Nick Fuentes and his stupid Groyper army. Now, again, not that I'm giving advice to Candace Owens because I'm a fan of her. I'm just saying objectively, to continue engaging with this guy and his fans is the worst possible decision in this moment for Candace. And the amount of rage posts that we're about to show you only prove the mental state that she's in. She's frazzled. She's shot. Because, like I said, she's been experiencing this up and up and up momentum, her career getting bigger, her channel subscribers going up, this praise, now it's all starting to crumble, and that facade is breaking down as she realizes the real nature of the movement that she's fostered.
Yep, 100%. And to your point about Dan Bilzerian, let me just circle back to that. People might not understand just how mask off and fucking crazy this guy is. You can watch a video we did on Casa del Vanguard reacting to him on Piers Morgan. He literally will come out and say shit like, they lied to you about the number of Jewish people that were killed in the Holocaust. Jewish people killed way more Christians than were ever killed. I mean, he just spits out the most deranged, unsubstantiated Nazi rhetoric, just total historical revisionism to, justify his weird Hitler worship. Okay, that is the guy that Candace Owens is calling to be a moderator. It's like, oh my gosh. We need a voice of reason on the right. We need somebody who everybody trusts, everybody knows is just a real pillar of truth and justice. He'll be a great moderator. Dan Bilzerian, are you fucking kidding me? So that's how cooked Candace's brain is already to begin with. That's why she's interested in doing this, because she really deep down, do you know what she wants? She wanted with that to just break bread with Nick Fuentes. It was a bit of a misunderstanding. Like, look, we're all actually friends. Like, yep. I think she wanted to work it back in and be like, hey, we're conservatives. We're not afraid of ideas. Like, we can disagree and still be on the same path against woke.
Yep.
We could still be on the same path, just triggering the libs, man. That's what she wanted. She wanted him to be on her side so he wasn't antagonizing her anymore, because she's
or at least get him to stop shitting on her by being like, after you're nice to someone in person or have a friendly experience with someone, it is, a little bit harder to just go back to like viciously fucking savaging them online. So I think that was her goal. Like, I'll invite him into my house. I'll treat him nicely.
Yes.
I'll, show him a good time, and then he'll be afraid to talk shit on me going forward.
Yeah,
obviously it didn't work.
Absolutely, right? She was trying to disarm him. She was trying to neutralize the threat. And you can see by this insane crash out that when that didn't work, she realizes how vulnerable she is.
Yep.
She realizes that, her entire career is a house of cards, and it could potentially collapse if it doesn't go her way here.
Yep, 100%. I mean, obviously Candace Owens is really big. Like, she has millions and millions of fans. Like, I'm not suggesting that she's going to completely lose relevance, but I think she was coasting at such a level. And yeah, this is certainly going to take her down a pretty noticeable notch, in my opinion, just based on the unhinged kind of hysterical way that she's responding to this. But look at this, Zach. Nick Fuentes responds to her tweet that we just read. But he says, "What happened to this? Your first ambush backfired spectacularly. Now you want another swing, little girl." And he posts these, leaked messages. It looks like Candace, messaged him and said, "Truly exhausting. Of course, we would have had you back, but now I just think you've become what you hate. Your instincts are deceitful. Judas personality type. People break bread with you like Dave Smith." And then you jump on X and complain, "Just dumb. Oh, well." To which he responded, "Oh, please, presumptuous to think I'd want anything to do with you after that little stunt. Fly out on 2 days' notice during a war with Iran for you to try to press me about high school level drama and whether I'm a real racist. And then you put it behind a paywall and act like you're doing me a big favor. Oh, well," is right. So that's pretty funny. And it is true that, yeah, after the first debate kind of backfired, it's like she's basically just trying to, step up to the plate again and take another swing at it. And it's funny because, yeah, she did apparently put that whole debate behind a paywall. That's why we had to react to those two idiots reacting to it, because you can't actually just watch the video. She's obviously not proud of that debate performance. And yeah, so that was his response. Do you have anything to say about that before we take a look at her next tweet?
I mean, just that, again, all the evidence that you could possibly need to never, ever engage with this little shithead, right? He's such a twerp. But so is Candace Owens, right? She's also a little twerp. So I guess they're made for each other. I don't know. This is like watching, two of your enemies fight. You can't take your eyes off of it, but you're just constantly, enamored by how pathetic and stupid they are.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's just like, this is so, imagine engaging with someone like this. Imagine spending this much energy and time posting out these responses to someone that fucking unhinged and vile. Either way, she says, "Absolutely shocking. After weeks of lying about me and certifying to his followers that he had receipts regarding my character, Nick has informed Dan Bilzerian that he does not want to do a moderated debate. So after I was exceedingly kind to him and he suddenly betrayed our discussions, then dedicated hours to publicly insulting me, lying about my team, lying about my family, claiming I was working with Russia and the Tate brothers, plus alleging I'm illiterate and dumb. Nick suddenly doesn't want to face me. Is this the part where I get a cry on a stream and say, no one will talk to me because I'm just so real? I am the movement. LMAO. It's almost like he's a literal theater boy with victim mentality who pathologically lies about everyone and then pretends he's being attacked when someone calls him out on his pathological lies." And then most people in the responses seem to say things like this, like, no one gives a fuck. Like, why are you crashing out so hard over this? And yeah, it's just like, it's kind of weird to be like, "You're a coward, you won't debate me," to someone who literally just debated you.
And you paywalled it.
And then you paywalled it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, this is just so obviously desperate. You think that if you get another chance at this debate, you're somehow going to make things right and you're going to win back all these, members of the Groyper army that I guess, left your channel in a mass exodus because, you embarrass yourself. But Andrew Tate apparently is on her side. As you can see, she retweeted him here. So pretty crazy stuff. A total, MAGA civil war, I guess you could call it.
Oh, it's an insane MAGA civil war. And what's crazy is, guys, I don't want to extrapolate too far, but I think we can really clearly see how Nick Fuentes' rise in 2025 was kind of, borne out. I think if you think back to 2016 when Gavin and I were seniors in high school and we first started really, really covering the Donald Trump phenomenon, right? like late 2015, I would say was when I really locked in and I was like, holy shit, this guy is not doing this as a joke. Like he's a legitimate, like he's running for president, right? That was when we all were like, wow, this is going to happen. And pretty much everybody I knew, even in Johnson County, Kansas, conservative part of the country, like if you were just a normal, regular person, you outwardly projected that Donald Trump was a hateful bigot, that you didn't want anything to do with him. Everybody made it clear, I fucking hate Donald Trump. I don't support any of his racist rhetoric. That's not the America I believe in. That's not the America I grew up in. I grew up in Barack Obama's America where a black man could be president, yada, yada, yada. That's how we were all thinking about it in high school at that time. All right, just to give you guys a little blast from the past. Now, over the last 10 years, and particularly after the last election cycle, Donald Trump was normalized like you could have never imagined back then. All right, the number of people who were flirting with Donald Trump, talking about how he had some ideas they like, oh, I don't like any of the extreme stuff, but I can get behind his immigration policy, or he's a businessman. Man, we just have to do something about grocery prices. Man, I just don't want a drag queen reading to my kid. These were the kind of things that you started to hear more normal, regular, run-of-the-mill Americans say. It became less controversial to come out and say, I do support a lot of Donald Trump's ideas, right? What did that create totally fertile ground for, right? All the pod bros, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, Tim Dillon, they all go out and they want to say nice things about Donald Trump all the time. Well, then it's not really edgy anymore to come out and be like, I'm the Donald Trump guy. Isn't that so fucking edgy? I love Donald Trump. So what do you have to do? You have to be the most fucking racist guy. You have to be the most unfucking hinged guy, because it's normal to support Donald Trump in conservative circles now. Even in some apolitical circles, it was normal to support Donald Trump. So this guy, Nick Fuentes, who has been totally off the board, beyond the pale, like, I am a white supremacist. I wear my Ku Klux Klan hood. I am a fucking guy who hates every single person who doesn't look, believe, act exactly like I do, right? That guy becomes the new, like, oh, I'm actually curious about this guy because he is edgy, right? And the people who were attracted to Donald Trump when it was edgy to fuck with him, when it was like, oh, wow, I'm really a societal outcast because I'm brave enough to say I support Donald Trump. Those people have all moved on to Nick Fuentes, and that's where he gets a lot of his power from, because it is edgy, it is beyond the pale, and it does make these people feel like cool outsiders, even when that cool outsiderdom is their fucking Ku Klux Klan crew.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they're also accusing each other of being CIA or feds or whatever, which is pretty funny. If you see here, Elon Musk actually got in on the fun, and he responded to this tweet from Milo Yiannopoulos, bit of a throwback, kind of the OG Nick Fuentes, to be honest. Except for he was honest about being gay, whereas Nick Fuentes is not. But he says, no charges because Nick was one of the 30 or so confidential informants working for the FBI on January 6th to entrap Trump voters. His victims were tortured for years in jail. At least 5 are dead. So he's basically trying to imply that Nick Fuentes is like CIA or whatever.
He's a rat.
Yeah, he was leading these Trump supporters like the Pied Piper to their entrapment, or, it's crazy, stupid conspiracy theory. Obviously not true. And I think this also is just, Milo being jealous because he's such a fucking has-been, and Nick Fuentes has basically stolen his whole shtick of being just the edgy, crazy, insanely fucking racist guy online who triggers the libs harder than anyone.
Yep.
So I think that's interesting. But also, Candace, of course, jumps in here, and it's funny that she says, LMAO, here we go again, guys. Nick trash talks about literally everyone, claiming they are frauds, but when the very people he speaks about reply to him, he says it's some high-level coordinated attack. Me coordinating with Elon Musk? LOL. Have you watched even a minute of my content? Didn't you just say I was working with Russia? Tonight he'll say, defend me. They are trying to kill me. Meanwhile, I'm being sued by the president of France. The Tate brothers are actually facing a coordinated multi-state level attack from various countries
for human sex trafficking, something you always pretend to care about.
And none of us cry victimhood. Oh yeah, I'm sure none of them have ever cried victim about that. I've maintained Nick Fuentes is a sheltered theater kid who cries and lies pathologically. So this is such a shit show. They're accusing each other of fucking, you're CIA. No, you're CIA. No, you're CIA. No, I'm a victim. No, actually the Tate brothers are the real victims. It's just so fucking stupid.
She keeps calling him a theater kid. And it's like, dude, that insult is so niche that it's not landing with your base. Candace, you are the least bad person in this exchange. So I will offer my coaching to you. Pick another line. Pick something that hurts him. Pick something that he can't ignore. Go find out something really personal about Nick Fuentes. Have some of your, stands on the internet. Go dig up something that will really hurt this man badly. Publicly humiliate him in a way that nobody's figured out how to do yet. Use all of your resources to humiliate this man. Make it hard as fuck for him to show his face in public. I'm sure there's a treasure trove of things that you could use to make this man a viral laughingstock. That would be my advice. Yeah.
I think that the only thing she could do is just to move on and ignore him. I don't think there's anything she could say or do to win this.
Interesting.
Unless someone leaks to her some, exclusive piece of information.
That's what I'm telling her to go find.
Yeah, if that exists, for sure.
There has to be something.
But I mean, we already got to see the video of him and Destiny having sex, gay sex. So that didn't stop him. That didn't take him down.
That was a little too explicit to go viral, though. That's what Candace needs. Old Candy over here needs to thread the needle. Okay, we need something less explicit so it can go truly, properly viral, but also something that hurts this man in his soul. Something that makes him smaller than he already is. Something that really, I want him to cry when he sees whatever dirt you found on him, because it's got to be out there. Candace, get to happy hunting.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.